What would you do if you discovered that the car you had been driving at more than 300 kilometers per hour had a structural failure that could have cost you your life? The FIA has just released a report that not only exonerates Hamilton, but leaves Leclerc completely shocked. Today, I tell you why the Abu Dhabi accident could change everything. It all started as just another Friday of free practice at Yas Marina, a well-known track, ideal weather conditions, and a car that, in theory, should represent the technological peak of Scuderia Ferrari. Lewis Hamilton, dressed in red for the first time on that circuit, sought to fine-tune the final details of the SF25 before qualifying. The atmosphere was full of expectation, but there was nothing to predict what was about to happen. The onboard camera captured the moment with surgical precision. Entering turn 9, one of the most demanding areas of the circuit, Hamilton's car suddenly lost all front axle stability. There was no tire lockup, no visible steering correction, and no erratic acceleration. It was a loss of control as abrupt as it was unnatural, as if the car had literally stopped responding. And in a way, that's how it was. What happened was an invisible break, a technical failure of such magnitude that, for milliseconds, the SF25 ceased to be a Formula One car. Telemetry later confirmed it, a non-elastic structural bending. For those who are not familiar with this term, it is a deformation that exceeds the elastic limit of a material and does not return to its original shape. That is to say, the structure could not withstand the pressure, it collapsed, and in doing so it dragged the front suspension with it. That micro-collapse directly affected the car's aerodynamic platform. Losing its structural integrity, the airflow stopped working as designed. The downforce suddenly disappeared. In competition engineering, this phenomenon is a latent terror known as phantom load loss. The car loses all grip without changing its speed or line. It simply stops having grip. And in a sport where every tenth counts, this was equivalent to disconnecting the wings of an airplane in mid-flight. Hamilton had no time to react. His experience, his reflexes, his champion instinct. None of those elements could save him from the inevitable. Because in reality, there was nothing left to save. The car had collapsed from the inside. The first analysis was devastating. The Ferrari technicians knew that this was not normal. The chassis was immediately removed for forensic examination. Upon disassembly, the worst-case scenario was confirmed. The monocoque had failed at a key attachment point, exactly where the most extreme lateral loads are distributed. And that point, according to internal records, had not been reinforced after the latest structural modifications introduced in the middle of the season. Until that moment, the official hypothesis was that Hamilton had pushed the pace too much. A typical technical excuse to calm the rumors. But this time it didn't work. Because the truth was written in the broken carbon, in the crooked alignment of the sensors, and in the cold reading of the G-force data. It was not human failure. It was a design flaw. This revelation not only destroys the pilot error narrative, it completely exonerates Hamilton and places Ferrari's technical department under a scorching spotlight. And it raises a disturbing question. What other cars in the team could have been on the brink of the same disaster? The most chilling thing is that this incident could have gone unnoticed. If the car hadn't been destroyed on camera, if the sensors had not captured the exact moment of bending, if Hamilton wasn't who he is and didn't have the visibility he has. Because many failures like this have occurred in the past and have never been documented. This time there was no hiding it. And so, what began as an ordinary Friday in Abu Dhabi became the most alarming technical event of the year. Not because of the magnitude of the crash, but because of what it revealed. That even in the elite of Formula One engineering, structural errors can cost careers, reputations, and perhaps something much more serious. Hours after the accident, the entire paddock was in silent tension. While the media tried to reconstruct the event with theories of human error or minor problems, something completely different was happening in the Ferrari technical room. The engineers, along with FIA personnel and technical delegates, already knew that what they had seen did not fit with the driver's mistake. And when they finished analyzing the data, they decided it was time to confront the pilots with reality. Charles Leclerc was summoned to a private meeting at Ferrari's hospitality unit. It wasn't unusual, but the tone this time was different. There were Frédéric Vasseur, the FIA delegates, and two aerodynamic engineers from the team. In his hands, telemetry charts, side-loading maps, and forensic photographs of Hamilton's monohull. The words were direct. The car's failure was not a consequence of driver error. It was not excessive speed. It wasn't a blockade. It was a structural deformation of the chassis. A crack invisible to the human eye, but fatal under racing pressure. In seconds, the confidence Leclerc had built up all season was shattered. And then came the inevitable question. Did they know it before? During the season, Ferrari had become obsessed with a very clear objective: reducing the weight of the SF25. After a promising but not dominant start, they saw McLaren begin to slip away in sustained performance. The response was immediate and risky. A series of updates that, according to some leaked internal sources, involved the replacement of key components of the monocoque and front suspension with lighter versions. And this is where the controversy breaks out. The most accepted theory in technical circles is that Ferrari, in its attempt to shave grams at any cost, inadvertently or worse, consciously weakened critical structural areas of the chassis. We are not talking about interchangeable components or reversible solutions. We are talking about the very heart of the car, where the most brutal forces of physics converge in a fast F1 corner. This extreme saving strategy was baptized by paddock engineers as skinny risk engineering, a practice where structural thinness is taken to the tolerable limit or beyond. And in the case of the SF25, everything indicates that that fine line between innovation and technical irresponsibility was crossed. The paddock woke up different after Abu Dhabi. The FIA technical revelation was not just another report, it was a kind of silent earthquake. Because while the headlines were talking about Leclerc's structural failure and shock, deep within the Formula One ecosystem, much more complex pieces were beginning to move. At Ferrari, the first big question was no longer how to improve the car. It was how to restore trust. How do you tell a driver like Charles Leclerc to push again to the limit when his car failed without warning? How do you demand that Lewis Hamilton believe in a project that literally collapsed under his feet? This emotional fracture cannot be resolved with a press conference or a promise. It is an internal, silent wound that puts the team's competitive future in check. And that is the big problem for Ferrari. Its fight is no longer just against McLaren, Red Bull, or Mercedes. Now she fights against herself. And in parallel, the FIA is not far behind. The technical failure has already activated analysis commissions that could lead to new revisions to the chassis homologation regulations. There is even talk of reinforcing structural ultrasound control protocols before each Grand Prix. A change that could affect not only Ferrari but the entire grid. Because if a team like Ferrari can make mistakes like that, who is really safe? But beyond what has already happened, what is truly disturbing is what could come. Because the paddock is a blood-hungry beast. And now all the teams are looking at Ferrari not as a rival but as a weak point. Like a wounded giant. McLaren, Mercedes, and Red Bull already work with the information from the FIA technical report in their hands. Not as simple curiosity but as a strategic tool. Because understanding where and how the SF25 failed could give them an advantage not only on the track, but in the development of their own cars. So what's next? Will Ferrari be able to redesign the car without compromising its performance? Will Leclerc and Hamilton regain faith in their team? Will the FIA impose new regulations that change the technical landscape of the entire category? And what other hidden truths could be waiting their turn to come to light? Because what became clear in Abu Dhabi is that in Formula One, the real danger is not always on the track. What was experienced in Abu Dhabi has left an indelible mark on the 2025 season. A mark that not only affects the performance of a car, not even only the destiny of a team. What was unleashed with the publication of the FIA report is a storm that threatens to reconfigure the entire balance of power within Formula One. But while the cameras focused on Ferrari and the media focused on the internal fracture of the prancing horse, in the shadows, other teams began to move quickly. And if there is a team that knows how to take advantage of other people's weaknesses, it is Mercedes. Because although many forget it, Hamilton's departure left an immense gap. Not only in sporting terms but politically. Toto Wolff not only lost his star pilot, he lost his spiritual leader. And for months he has been working to rebuild not only a team, but a winning narrative that can regain its place at the top. Now, with Ferrari faltering, a unique opportunity opens up. Absorb the disenchanted talent that may escape from Maranello, pressure the FIA to impose new rules that penalize its direct rivals, and most importantly, influence the 2026 driver market. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.